works. I am a boomer, so this might not work. All right. Hello, everybody. We are live, or at least it says we're live. And Turtleboy is tearing apart his studio as we speak.
Yeah.
So this is, I have my guest, Turtleboy, Aidan Kearney. Am I saying that right?
Kearney, but we'll let
Kearney?
it slide. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And so introduce yourself, tell us about your social media, and just give us a basic understanding of what you're about.
So my name's Aidan. I am the publisher, editor, kind of do it all for a website that I created called Turtleboy Daily News. It goes tbdailynews.com, formerly turtleboysports.com. I've been doing it for a living now for 9 years. It's my business. It's my livelihood. I quit my job as a teacher to pursue this endeavor. I started doing it while I was a teacher. I was a teacher for 11 years prior to that. And I really just wanted to have a blog where I express my opinions anonymously, because as a teacher, you're somewhat limited on the things you could say using your real name. So I created this anonymous blog. It started to grow. I would blow up almost. And as a result of that, I was doxxed. People found out who I was. They put my name out there. And basically the school was in a situation where they were like, well, you know, your opinions are controversial, but they're protected by the First Amendment. So we can't fire you for that, but we want this problem to go away. So they offered me a full year's salary and good recommendations to just walk away and not sue them. And I agreed to it because to me, it was an opportunity to start my new life as Turtleboy. And it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. So I would characterize myself as a blogger. I started doing the YouTube thing a few years ago. It is basically like a complementary part of my media company, if you will. I use it as a place to talk about the stories that I write and nothing more. So I'm not a YouTuber. I'm a blogger / journalist, if you will, that uses YouTube to reach new people like you.
So I have stupid questions. You're going to get a lot of stupid questions from me. What did you teach?
I was a history teacher, 11th grade history teacher.
Okay, so you have an interest in history, or that's just what you ended up teaching?
No, I love history. Although it was the only major I qualified in for with college when you have a 2.1 GPA. But yes.
Okay.
I happen to love it. I happen to love it.
So you got basically run out of your job for your political views.
Yeah, well, I would say more for just the inflammatory nature of like when people read the blog, and you have to be politically neutral as a teacher, unfortunately. And basically the things that I was saying on here were too inflammatory, and my opinions were too strong. So
would you characterize your blog as a politically oriented blog, or would you characterize it more as a general blog, or how would you characterize it?
That's a good question. I mean, it kind of does a lot of things. I would say primarily I would call it an investigative blog. Like I write stories that the media is not telling. People come to me with stories that often they've gone to the Boston Globe with, they've gone to other media outlets with, and they've been ignored. One of the biggest stories I ever published in 2017 involved a scandal within the Massachusetts State Police, in which a judge's daughter crashed her car while she was high on heroin. She told the arresting trooper that, do you know how many dicks I had to suck to get that? And then offered to fillet the trooper. And all of that ended up getting redacted from the report because the state, the police barracks got a call from the district attorney's office saying, you need to get rid of that part. It's embarrassing to the judge. And so a bunch of troopers were upset about that. They went to the Globe about it. They got ignored. And they're like, let's try Turtleboy. And so they messaged me and I put it out there, and I put the original report and the new report. And it turned out to be this huge story that led to the resignation of 4 of the highest ranking members of the state police. And so that's just one example of the kind of stories that I do. People come to me because they trust anonymity. They know I'm never going to give up sources ever. I've been sued multiple times and they've tried to get to my sources and I just won't do it. I mean, I won't ever reveal a source. So I would characterize that's what I do.
So I have again stupid questions. The judge, was the judge liberal or conservative, or did that not have any impact on your?
It didn't really publish. It didn't. Most judges in Massachusetts are liberal, but that didn't have. He could have been conservative, liberal. Wouldn't have mattered to me. What mattered to me was the fact that the district attorney was the one who ultimately told the state police, Colonel, you need to tell the troopers to take this out. The troopers refused to do it and were disciplined, and that's why they were upset. So to me, that was the scandal. The fact that we're always looking for police reform, right? That's what everybody wants. Well, here we have good cops who aren't willing to sweep something under the rug because a powerful person wants them to, and they get disciplined for it. And that's a story that needs to be told.
So you've done it on corruption. Is that the biggest story you've had, or is there other big stories?
Oh no, I mean, there's been bigger than that. I mean, that's definitely one of the biggest stories I've done. A story out by you, actually, from Napa, California. A woman by the name of Kylie Kirkpatrick. She had a 9-year-old boy named Ryan Coyote, and you might have seen it on the news up there. But around 2019, he made headlines when he got Gavin Newsom to sign legislation banning the practice of lunch shaming, they called it, when kids can't afford to buy their school lunch, because this child was in the media, went to the newspaper, and he said, I'm giving my allowance $75 to pay off my classmates' school lunch debt. And it was cute. You know, this kid with the check, and he's giving his allowance, and it was really heartbreaking. But people were mad at the school. Like, how could you force this kid to do this? It turns out the whole thing was a lie. The mother put him up to it. There was no lunch shaming going on. The school had a strict policy against it. And they went to the newspaper. All these parents at the school were just like being defamed. And they went to the newspaper, the Napa Valley Register, I think it's called, and told them, look, here's the deal. Like this kid this isn't happening. And the money, he didn't use his allowance. There's a GoFundMe. There was $100 GoFundMe used to pay for it. And they ended up making millions of dollars in benefits. I mean, I'm talking, they got invited to the Super Bowl by the Raiders. They were flown all across the country on speaking tours. It was a huge thing. So the media in California wouldn't report on it because they liked the make-believe story more. It was more heartwarming. And so they're like, we need to find somebody. I get a couple people in my inbox one day from Napa, California, and they're like, we were recommended to go to you. And so I look into it. I wrote a 7-part series about it. Next thing you know, I have a detective from the Napa police department in my inbox asking me to call her. And they started an investigation of her. Within 3 weeks, she was charged with 8 counts of fraud. She's got court coming up in a couple more weeks. She actually just violated her parole. She lives in Rhode Island near me now. And she actually just violated her probation, if you will, because she started another GoFundMe, which she was not allowed to do. The question was whether or not that she's not allowed on social media, and whether or not GoFundMe counted as social media. They ended up counting it. So she's incarcerated once again until her upcoming trial. So that's another. I mean, I wouldn't characterize that as a political story, I guess. I mean, Gavin Newsom was involved, but again, if he fooled Marco Rubio too, I would have written the story the same way.
Okay, so what's your normal investigative process? You get an email from someone in your inbox. It says there's this thing going on. What do you do to verify? Or let me step that back. Is there something you do to verify it? Is there a process you go through?
Oh, absolutely. Because this day and age, you got to be very careful with libel. The First Amendment is strong, but there is weaknesses in it. You know, if you say the wrong thing, if you say something untrue and it damages somebody, you could get in a lot of trouble for that. So for instance, with the state police story, you know, I needed to speak to more than one. I got contacted by a trooper, but I need at least 3 sources on this. I need 3 people to tell me this happened. And then I need to see the reports. I need to see the reports. I always tell these people when they message me with story ideas, I say, do you have any evidence to back up the things you're saying? There's some things I can find out on my own. If you tell me that so-and-so was arrested in this town on this day, can you look into it? I can call up the police department, do a public records request. I can get that on my own. But there's some things I might need from the source itself. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of homework that goes into the stories that I do.
Is there so you have a process for determining whether or not you have the right story? Is there also a process you go through to determine whether or not a story is worth publishing?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I get a lot of bad submissions too. 95% of the submissions I think I don't write about. And some of them are just comical. Like, you know, they'll tell me like my local water inspector is corrupt and he's pocketing tax money. It's like, nobody cares about the water inspector in your podunk town with 3,000 people. I'm sorry. I know it's a big deal for you, but we're a little above that now. We're going for bigger fish. And yeah.
So like, so the water inspector pocketing tax money isn't a big story. I mean, how? Like, I
I
understand that
guess
that would be an example of it, but I'm kind of trying to understand what the process is, what the rule would be, kind of not an example, but like what the rule is.
well, I guess there is no rule. I guess it's kind of like pick and choose about what the way I look at the stories. I look at it as how a reader would read it. I get something in my inbox, and I'm like, would my audience want to know about this? You know, how would this go over? Is this a matter of public interest that people outside of this one particular area would care about? You know, the state police story was a huge one because it involves police corruption. That's something that people in any state can relate to. Obviously, in Massachusetts, we are more interested in that. But the story with Kylie Kirkpatrick and Napa, yeah, that got a lot of views in California, but it's also a story that involved like a little kid being used by his mother, and that type of story appeals to anyone.
I just want everybody to know I'm not masturbating. It's the dogs coming and putting their heads on my lap. So
No
I'm sure
judgment.
there'll be memes. There'll be
Yeah.
memes.
Yeah.
So you wanna pick stories that appeal to your audience. You want stories that have a bit of a public appeal, matters of public importance. Um, let's take a small diversion. One of the things that's kind of important to my audience, unfortunately, is Chili De Castro. Um, it is my understanding that you have met Chili De Castro. Is that correct?
Incidentally, so I was in court to observe a proceeding for Kate Peter on September 6th in Boston. It was a harassment order, prevention order hearing. And Chili showed up that day and sat down next to me and didn't know I was sitting next to him. He texts me because he got my phone number from Lauren Laguna, and he's like, "Are you here?" And I'm like, "Dude, I'm right next to you, literally right next to you." And so like that was the first and only time I ever met Chili. Him and I are not friends. We don't work together. I know very little about him other than that the internet seems somewhat obsessed with this man. I don't really have an interest in people like Chili because I could be honest with you. I think Chili's mentally ill just from what I've seen from him. I don't think he's all there. I think there's something wrong with this man. I think he's abrasive and obnoxious, certainly, especially the only time I've ever written about him is when he came to Stoneham, Massachusetts and harassed children at a Veterans Day parade, Memorial Day parade. And that's the kind of story I'm interested in. Like grown man comes and interrupts parade. And like, that's the kind of person that I like to expose. But it became clear after a while, we're dealing with a guy who is not all there. And to me, it's low hanging fruit. It's too easy. It's punching down. Like, and at the end of the day, outside of YouTube, nobody cares about Chili De Castro. That's not like I go for bigger fish than Chili De Castro. And so, yeah, I mean, he's entertaining, I guess, the whole thing. But, you know, I do think that his whole lawsuit is hilarious. I mean, I've been sued a number of times, too, by plaintiffs like him. And I get that it's a good laugh. It's obviously not going to go anywhere. But, yeah, other than that, I have very little interest in him.
So you said that the interaction he had where he was yelling at kids in the parade, that was something that you would write on. Did you write on it?
I did. Okay. I did do a blurb on that because just because a lot of people sent me that who didn't know who Chili De Castro was. People are like, I went to a Memorial Day parade in my town, and this grown man was going around telling kids not to trust cops. And it's like that's the kind of people I like to write about. It's like this douchebag that comes here and behaves improperly. Come to find out, Kate Peter ends up down there too and kind of tries to play Captain Save-A-Ho, and we've all seen the video of that. And yeah, it was just like, oh man, my take on it was like these two horrible people meeting up together, and the town is the big loser. I think that was my take on it.
It was quite the show. Just out of curiosity, how well did that blurb do? Do you? Well, let me.
Not very well. I mean, my audience has no interest in people like Chili De Castro, to be perfectly honest with you.
So, so you have some sort of a metric that you can use to track how well a particular story is.
Oh, yeah, page views.
Okay.
Page views.
And you I guess modify the stories that you choose to do based on those.
Yeah, I mean, I average about right now it's like 1.2 million page views a month on the website. So on every given day, I'd like to have about an average of 40,000 visitors to the website, and so like that's what I wake up and do. I'm like, I need to get at least 40,000 a day because you do get paid by the view when you have Google AdSense on your website and stuff like that. So the more you churn out, the better you do. The more eyeballs on your website, obviously, the better. And it's just the Chili De Castro thing only sells with a certain niche audience, and it's all on YouTube.
Okay. So now that we've taken care of the Chili saga, and thank you for, I was fearing that it was going to be some long involved thing where you were in love with him or whatever, but you handled it very well. So let's talk about, I'm going to say your nemesis. Let's talk about Kate Peters'. I know that she loathes you and you loathe her, but I don't understand the whole thing, because when I first met Kate, I believe she was working for you.
You met her 2.5 years ago?
Yeah. I met her a long time ago.
Oh, did you? How'd you meet?
She came into my Discord one day. She was doing videos. I think she'd started to do videos on First Amendment auditors, which is kind of my bag, baby.
Mm-hmm.
And she came into my Discord one day and was talking, and I'm like, who is this gal? And then she did a stream on, I thought she did a stream on Turtleboy Sports, actually under your name. So
that's right. So my history with her,
but let me structure the question a little bit. I want to find out how you met her.
So in 2018, I used to recruit bloggers. I had several bloggers who used to write for me, and I would pay them by the page view. Nobody did it for a full-time job or anything. And I recruited people actually in the comments section on Facebook. Like, if you were witty in the comments and you made me laugh or you said something insightful, I'd send you a message and say, hey, you should try out. You should send me a sample blog and see if you can do this. And so Kate used to comment on she's a fan of the blog, and she used to comment on the page a lot. And she is a good writer. And I read a lot of her comments, and I sent her a message. I'm like, hey, you should try out. And she later went on to say that I was her idol, and that she was like so honored that I messaged her or whatever. And so she started writing, and she did a good job. She was she wrote some good stories for me. I'm not going to lie. But towards the end of her tenure, once she started going on YouTube, she came really obsessed with the auditors. And, I'm fine if you want to write about Josh Abrams once or Chili De Castro once, but you got to move on to the next topic, because my audience is always looking for the next thing. And Kate just gets, if you go on her channel, I mean, it's just chili. I couldn't talk about another human being if you go on my channel, it's a different topic every night that we're talking about. Kate is just some side thing that I have a little feud with, right? She doesn't occupy much of my time. I don't really write about her ever. I haven't written about her in a couple of years. And I only talk about her on this medium on YouTube. I don't talk about her anywhere else. So she started getting really obsessed with the YouTube thing. And I noticed it was like really starting to go to her head. And I found out later, she ended up quitting in, I think, February of 2020, because I found out that one of my advertisers, she read an ad read for him on her stream on my channel. And I said, why are you reading that? And she's like, well, I'm collecting money from him. And like, we had an agreement, a revenue share, where she would collect a certain percentage and I would keep a certain percentage. So she was keeping money from me. And I found out about that way. And I didn't appreciate that. And I called her out on it. She's like, fine, I quit. Okay. Well, I later found out that for a few months prior to that, Kate had been creating this Facebook name called Aidan Blarney, rhymes with my name, and we were going to have a live event, in-person event. And Kate was trying to sabotage it by contacting the place and letting them know they're having an illegal raffle there. And we were trying to figure out who Aidan Blarney was the whole time. Kate and I were. It was her the whole time. I found out it was her later on because I trusted her. I considered her a friend. And I'm like, I literally trusted her more than anyone. And so I would never have suspected it was her. But then after she left, and she started lying a lot about me and saying things about me that were completely untrue, that I had been ripping off victims of domestic violence, things that were easily proven to be completely fabricated. But she's very convincing to these people. And I told people to trust her because she worked for me, and so they trusted her. A lot of them have since figured out that she's a pathological liar, and they've seen the light, and they realize what we're dealing with now. She's very charming. I will give her that. She is one hell of a scammer. She's one hell of a liar. She can convince a lot of people that she is this decent, law-abiding, moral person. And I had no idea about her past or anything when she worked with me. She didn't tell me about any of this stuff. I never would have had her working for me if I knew all that, because we criticize people like that. We write about them. And here I am. I have a Trojan ratchet working for me, and I didn't even realize it. And so I found out later on that she was the Aidan Blarney account, because the Aidan Blarney account had said some pretty specific things that I hadn't told anyone in the world except for Kate. There was a specific vacation I went on that I didn't tell anyone about. And Aidan Blarney had posted about it. And that's when I figured, oh crap, it's her. And so after we split, it wasn't amicable. And she started spreading untrue things about me that were hurting my brand and costing me. Go ahead.
Let me break in here. You've covered a lot of territory, and I want to kind of pull back a little bit. So did you find out that she was Aidan Blarney at the same time that you found out that she was holding money from you, or were they at different times?
No, it all started coming one after another. Like, so when I figured out the money thing, that's when I confronted her on it. That's when she quit. And then she started saying things about me that were untrue, that were damaging to my brand. There was a woman by the name of Samantha Cardin that I had written about. She was a victim of domestic violence, and we helped her. I got her a lawyer because her and I were being sued by the same individual. He's probably in the comments right now. I'm not even going to mention his name because he sues me all the time. He's insane. And I'm not even going to give him the dignity of saying his name, but he punched her in the face, and I wrote about him. And he ended up suing both of us because she got cold feet and didn't testify, and the charges were dropped. And so he sued her, and he sued me for having the blog that published about it. And I had to pay for an attorney, because you have to do that when your company gets sued in Massachusetts. You can't defend yourself. And this poor woman, a single mom, domestic violence victim, has to pay for an attorney too. And I said, my attorney will just, represent us both in court. We'll make an appearance for you. And it was like $300. It was like 2 hours worth of work. He went in there, and it ended up getting dropped against her, and it was no big deal. And Kate went around and said he never paid for her attorney, and he pocketed all the money, and he raised none of that. It was completely untrue. And I had people, my own followers, were like questioning me about it. And I said, what are you talking about? And they're like, this is what Kate is saying about you. And I'm like, I was perplexed, because even though we had ended things and it didn't end well, I'm like, why would you lie about me? Why are you, I thought you were my friend. Like, why are you making these baseless lies up about me? And that's when I realized, I'm like, oh, she's just a psychopath. She's just insane. She'll just make things up. And so I found, that's when I found out about her past with the neglect and the abuse of the children. And I texted her one day about it, and I said, Kate, you need to stop this, or I'm going to write about this. I don't want to do that. I don't want to put your business out there with your past with abusing your kids and losing them to the state. I don't want to have to do that. But you need to just stop this. Well, instead of stopping, she went to the court and tried to get a harassment prevention order against me to prevent me from speaking. She got a temporary one. Those are done ex parte. And in the 13 days between when the TRO was held and the actual hearing was held on March 10th, Kate tried to violate it on February 28th of 2020. All of a sudden, my Facebook account, Turtleboy Sports, made a post. I guess somebody alerted to me about it, and they go, did you write this? And they sent me a screenshot, and it's the Turtleboy account saying, Kate, you're dead. We're going to burn you to the ground, all this shit. And I'm like, you wouldn't write. I'm like, I didn't write that. And so I looked in the logs on Facebook, and you can see who signed in. And Kate used one of her burner accounts, which I hadn't removed as an admin, an account called H Paul, and had made that post at the exact same time it was posted. She was logged in. Like, it was undeniable. I went to the police department in my town, and they filed a criminal complaint against her. We did have a hearing about that. It didn't go anywhere because of jurisdiction, because the magistrate ruled that, well, technically if she violated the law, she violated it in her town. So you got to go to that courthouse. And I'm like, this isn't worth it anymore. I'm just moving on with my life. Okay, whatever. We did have the hearing on March 10th. Kate thinks she knows the law. She thinks she's litigious. She has a high school degree. She doesn't know anything. And she made a fool of herself. She was reprimanded by the judge several times and told to basically stop talking. And the order was denied. So that's kind of, it's taken off from there.
Okay. So I'm wondering about just first of all, on what basis do you say that Kate abused her kids? Because that is a specific thing. There's neglect and there's abuse.
Well, there
on what
isn't though.
basis do you say abuse?
Abuse is a type of neglect. It's legally defined in Massachusetts. Neglect is a form of child abuse in Massachusetts. So the two are synonymous.
They're synonymous in Massachusetts.
According to Massachusetts law, they are synonymous. So, basically, I found out she had told us that she had adopted her kids out, and she makes it seem like she did this virtuous thing. But then I found out there's 4 of them, and I'm like, wait, you gave up 2, but you kept 2? That doesn't make any sense. And so people started, as soon as Kate quit, I started getting lots of stuff in my inbox from people saying, oh, we wanted to tell you the whole time, but it was clear you were enamored with this woman and you liked her. We didn't want to tell you. Yeah. And people who would know, I don't reveal sources, but pretty solid sources came to me with reliable information about her. And there was I sent you the article. There's a 2014 Attleboro Sun Chronicle article. And so they can't say, oh, this is from Turtleboy. No, it's from the newspaper. It was National Adoption Day. Her 2 youngest sons were adopted out to a lovely family in a nearby town. And it specifically says in there, when a reunification attempt with the mother failed. Kate makes it seem like, oh, I did this. I tried to do it. No. From 2012, they were taken from her in 2012 to 2014. DCF made several attempts to try to reunite the children with their mother. That is their primary goal at DCF, is to reunite children with their birth parents. In order to do that, they give them an action plan. And Kate's action plan said that she had to stop drinking. She had to not live with the abusive, drug-addicted boyfriend that she was living with at the time. And she had to clean her house and get a job. Because she wasn't doing any of those things before. And she couldn't abide by it. And as a result of this, they tried over and over again. And then eventually they came to her and they said, look at Kate, these 2 youngest kids, they don't even know you. Like you see them on weekly visit or monthly visits or whatever. And they've lived with this other foster family for quite some time. We will either you agree to adopt them out or we're going to do it ourselves because you're not getting these kids back. And in return, we will give you a chance to reunite with your other 2 children. So she took it. And from what I'm told from DCF, it's very hard to adopt out older kids. It's a lot easier with younger kids, especially emotionally damaged children, because they come with a lot more, obviously, baggage, and Kate's kids have seen unspeakable things in that house. Her poor son, who, again, I'm not picking on the kids. I feel horrible for these kids, what they went through. I mean, I'm a father myself. And these children, the son especially, he had to live in a psychiatric hospital because of the abuse that he witnessed in the home living with Kate. Her daughter is bounced.
Go ahead. I'm getting a little bit uncomfortable talking about what's happening to the kids.
Okay,
I am absolutely fine talking about what happens to Kate, but these kids are identifiable, and I don't like this line that we're on. So
okay, that's fine. I have redacted their name. I have redacted their names for what it's worth.
But you can also understand that since we've identified who the mother is, it's fairly easy to identify who the children are.
And I would argue that if I were Kate and I had all of this baggage out there, the last thing that I would be doing is going on YouTube and picking fights with people, knowing all of this is out there. If you wanted to truly protect your children, you would not be doing what you're doing right now.
Well, let me push back on that. And I'm not trying to be a dick, and this is not a deposition, but you're the major one putting it out. That you're the only one that I know of that's putting it out.
It's reactionary. But it's reactionary.
Go ahead and explain that.
So I would never just normally do this. It's the fact that Kate is taking shots. Kate constantly takes shots at me. Kate makes up lies about me. Kate misrepresents who I am. I mean, to be lectured about being a bad parent. I mean, she's done that several times. You're a bad father. You're a horrible, you do this to your kids. Completely baseless things that have gone nowhere. 2 kids are upstairs right now. I put them to bed. All right. I fed them dinner today. I'd see him every day, get him on and off the bus every day. Imagine being lectured about being a bad parent by a person who literally lost their own children due to abuse. Kate brings this upon herself. If you don't want to go there, then don't go there. I'm reactionary. I don't go around picking fights with people. But if you pick a fight with me, I'm going to fire back at you.
That's fair enough. So so where do you see this whole thing with Kate going? Like I don't understand. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And it seems like at some point someone probably ought to be like, this is weird internet drama, and it doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand why this is still going on. It doesn't.
Because she doesn't. So basically, what's happening right now is Kate is rather obsessed with me. She won't just go away. Like, I want to go ahead, do your chili thing, do your auditor thing. But about a year ago, Kate got sent some images of me. Well, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I was jerking off in them. Right? She got a video of me spanking it that was sent by a jilted woman who I had an affair with. Right? And she sent these videos to Kate, and Kate distributed them widely. Massachusetts is one of only 2 states in the country that does not have a revenge porn law. So it's not even illegal to do that. And so, obviously I'm like that's her. I mean, think of that. Like, you're going to come at me, but you're distributing video like that of me for what purpose? I mean, I've had a lot of mental health issues. I'm not going to lie. I took some time off in February of 2021 rather. Because I tried to hurt myself, and I'm like, I can't fucking do. I need to clear my head. I've never seen a psychiatrist before. Just talk to somebody about my issues, and Kate knows all this, and so she knew what she was doing when she released those videos, obviously. But it was traumatizing at the time. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I sat in my garage, just fucking like, I can't even tell you how violating that feels to have just. You become a meme of, but time has healed.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
Time has healed all wounds, and I'm used to it. I've just come to terms with the fact that, that's always going to be out there, and it's going to be part of my life. And I just don't care anymore. I've owned it. I'm no longer affected by it. But that's an example of her keeping this going. And not only does she come after me, but she also comes after like, she knows she can't hurt my feelings, but she goes after my family members. She has emailed every member of my family. She's emailed the mother of my children at her work and CC'd the principal. The mother of my children is a 5th grade teacher, and CC'd the principal and said, your husband is sending jerk off videos to women, and here's a screenshot of it, and he's doing this, and he's a bad person, he's cheating on you. You don't think she knows everything? You don't think this is all out there? And like, what purpose does that serve other than to harass and humiliate her? Like, you claim to be this protector of women, but look what you're doing to this woman. What did she ever do to you? And since then, she has gone after friends and family of mine. Recently in court, Kate had a harassment prevention order taken out against her by a woman because that woman is associated with me and she's friends with me. And Kate decided to attack her. She put her name out there and her address several times. She posted her address on there. As a result, people showed up at her house. They had to take the numbers off their door. Amazon packages weren't going to their house anymore. And she was suicidal because of Kate also posted her nude intimate images on there that were leaked to her. And so this woman who did nothing to Kate, her only crime, as Kate has said, she goes, you're collateral damage. That's what she said on there. You're associated with him, so you have to get hurt by this too. The only she said on her show, the only reason that your pictures are up there is because Aidan is in them. You're an interchangeable whore, she called her. And as a result of this, finally, this woman just wanted it to go away. 9 months later, what does Kate do? She puts up another picture on her YouTube of the woman's intimate naked photos. And so finally she had enough. She went to the Boston Police Department and they told her to go to the courthouse and file for a criminal harassment order. And she did. And it was granted. 2 days after it was granted, Kate violated it by going on YouTube and directly speaking to the woman. She said her by name. She spoke to her directly, and the Boston police determined that that was a violation. And so they filed a criminal complaint against her that would not be heard until a couple of days ago. On September 6th, the hearing was held, and the judge was clearly disgusted by her. She hired a lawyer who it was the worst job I've ever seen in a courtroom for an attorney. Her strategy was basically to slut shame the woman. And she said, do you know he's married? Do you know that? Are you a homewrecker? Did you know? Like, and it was just her, the victim's lawyer kept saying, objection sustained, objection sustained. And when it was all over and Kate was tried to tell the judge, basically told the judge, like, it's okay that I'm doing this because I really don't like this guy. And she's just collateral damage for it. And so eventually the judge was disgusted by it and said, I'm granting this order for a full year. And so Kate has that honor. And then this week she had the magistrate hearing for the criminal complaint. And the magistrate, from what I've told, it was a closed door hearing. I talked to one of the attorneys that was in there. They told me that the magistrate repeatedly reprimanded her and said, how old are you? Why are you doing, you're 34 years old and this is what you're doing with your time. Why are you so obsessed with this man? They were convinced that Kate and I were in a relationship, because why else would a woman care this much about the sexual affairs of a man she's not sexually involved with? Like, why do you care about that so much? And the magistrate decided, yeah, there's plenty of probable cause here. And so she was officially charged today. It's on Mass Courts. I've posted it on our thing. I sent it to you. She was charged today with violation of a harassment prevention order. And she's being arraigned in Boston on December 16th.
That is some interesting news.
And I do see people comment saying citation cited. I mean, I believe I've sent you the citation, correct? And you've looked it over?
Since you are raising that issue, yes, I have seen it. You did send it to me. I don't normally disclose anything that's sent to me. So, but since you raised it, then yeah.
I just want to be clear that I'm not making this up, that this is actually on the Massachusetts court's website. She is being charged with a crime.
She is being charged with a crime. So going back to the you guys call it a DCF, I believe, not CPS, but going back to that report, does it change anything that she has admitted to the bulk of the allegations made about her and her kids? That
she hasn't admitted to it.
Well, I don't believe that she's at all saying that the youngest two weren't adopted. Now you're saying that
she says she gave them up in a noble act of love, that she gave them up and it was really hard for her to do. No, that she didn't have a choice. DCF did not give her a choice. And she basically said, you know, oh, I was a victim. That she portrays herself as the victim in that. Oh, I was the victim of domestic violence, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, she didn't have a job. She was drinking all the time. She wouldn't do the basic needs necessary to take care of her kids. 3 days before her children were taken from her in 2012, Kate had a YouTube venture before, and I've posted the videos for it. And her daughter was 6 at the time, and she made her daughter in a video call her, "Mom, why are you such a retard?" She was 6 years old. Her daughter was coached to call her mother a retard, and that's what she was doing 3 days before the children were taken from her. So she presents this as, oh, I was above my head. I'm a single mom with 4 kids. I couldn't do it. And I love these kids so much and wanted them to have a better home. No, she wanted to keep the kids. She tried and she failed because she couldn't do the basic things necessary. So she has not told the truth.
Okay. So I understand that. So how do you see this resolving? I don't think that you plan on this going into perpetuity with you and her going into.
I would hope not. I would hope not.
So eventually it's gonna have to wind down. I mean, somebody somewhere is gonna have to kind of just relax.
Yeah, I mean, all she has to just stop, go your separate way. I want nothing to do with you. You know, just stop taking, stop. How about this? Don't post naked pictures of me. Don't put, you know what I mean? Like, it had settled down for quite some time there, but she just couldn't stop. You know, when I took time off for mental health in February of 2021, I had a guy come up on my live stream who owns a suicide prevention nonprofit. His name was Scott, and his brother committed suicide, and he reached out to me and he's like, I want to help you. And so he came on my stream and we had a nice conversation just about it. It got real heavy, got real deep. And Kate, in response to that, went on his page. It was called Hidden Battles, and began trashing him and saying, you run this fake suicide nonprofit and let's see your books. And, you know, why are you having this person on? He's a bad person. It's literally, she literally attacked a suicide prevention nonprofit. I didn't do that. Again, I'm reactive. It's like, just go your separate way, Kate. I mean, I agree with you. It's like, not like we should both move on, right? We should both move on from this. I'm game, to be perfectly clear with that.
So So if I could just clarify your position on this, just for me, because I'm going to ask you if I could bring this to Kate and see if maybe I can't get some movement out of her. Basically, you're saying if she doesn't post any more naked pictures of you, you're cool and you're done.
Yeah, I mean, I have no interest in other than just reporting on the criminal matter. That's it. Once that's over, we're done.
Okay, so with your permission, I'm going to bring that to her because that seems.
I'm sure she's
very reasonable to me.
Yeah,
I'm sure she is too, but we'll see. I would like to make things a little bit better in YouTube land if I possibly can.
Yeah.
So let's get off of the Kate subject.
Yeah, it's heavy. It's too heavy.
So I heard that you ran for office. Have you run for office? And if so, what did you run for and how'd it go?
So I just ran for school committee in my town. I was one of a lot of conservative parents across the country who was just disgusted by the COVID lockdowns in particular. Like my daughter, we moved to this town for the schools because they have good schools in this town. And my daughter, right when she was in kindergarten age, what do? They closed the schools. And she sat in her, I'm sitting home with her. And I was so mad watching her do kindergarten on her computer, crying every day. Gym class was literally, they had a piece of paper in their room and they're jumping over the piece of paper on Zoom. And I'm like, dude, you don't get to make friends. Like that's the best part about going to school is making friends. And I'm sitting here watching my daughter go through this. And I'm like, the school committee just shut down our schools for no reason. Like didn't have a plan. Like to me, that was the easy way out. So I said, you know what? I'm going to run for school committee. Obviously I was up against it because it's a very liberal state that I live in. And it's a town that I think voted 60% for Biden. So, I couldn't win, like when it's like that, you're not going to win. Basically, when you're a conservative like me and you're in a liberal town, you're going to lose. And that's fine. There's other towns I probably could have won in, not this town. And so, I got 5th place out of 6. So I beat one person. And all 3 of the losers, we were all Republicans, and all 3 of the winners were Democrats. But I'll probably never run again. It's not really my thing, politics, but I gave it a shot.
So school committee is Republican, Democrat in Massachusetts. They actually have political affiliations.
It's not really, but the parties make it that way. The Democrats in this state, they're very organized and they don't concede anything. They have to win every office. And so our local Democratic town committee, which is run by the larger Democratic party of the state, they put out endorsements. A slate of 3. They had 3 people run. You get to vote for 3. And they said, vote for the 3 women. They got the same amount of votes. Like people bullet vote. They vote party lines. The machine tells them to. I didn't care. My campaign was me. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a campaign manager. I didn't spend a dime except out of my own pocket on some yard signs. And we did some standouts in the middle of town. And I'm like, well, just rely on the internet, see what happens. Now, it turns out you actually have to do things. Like you have to call people. There's a whole machine apparatus that you should do. And the Democrats are very good at that. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I got my ass kicked and I own it. And it was I'd do it again in a heartbeat. It was a learning experience.
So you would do it again?
Oh, no, that's not what I meant. I meant to say, I don't regret doing it. That's what I meant to say.
Okay.
It was a cool experience.
So you still, it seems like you still have quite a bit of an interest in politics. Do you have any particular projections for what's coming up in 2024?
Yes. Ron DeSantis is inevitable. I'm so happy. I'm really down about the midterms. I was pretty down about that because I was thinking big red wave were coming up here. And I was for a few days. Carrie Lake losing was the last one. I'm like, Jesus Christ, they can't stop dumping on my face here. But then I thought about it and I'm like, it's okay. Because Ron DeSantis is going to be the president in 2 years. And that is Ron DeSantis, when I listen to him talk, he moved, I've never had a politician move me like that. The way he speaks, how effective he is in governing, he just gets it. I love him. And unfortunately, what's in his way is Donald Trump is in his way. And so I'm completely off the Trump thing. I won't vote for Trump. I definitely won't vote for him in the primary. If he wins the nomination, I'll just sit it out because I voted for Trump twice. I'm done. I'm not contributing to this anymore. I think it's bad for the country. I think whether or not you like him or hate him, he is a extremely divisive person. And whereas Ron DeSantis is a uniter, he is a guy that was able to win 60% of the vote in Florida, which means you have to convert Democrats to vote for you. He has the ability to do that, whereas Donald Trump does not. And so, and I'm pretty convinced right now, just the way he's handling himself and the way Trump is kind of breaking down on social media, that Ron DeSantis is inevitable.
So do you do any political do you endorse, does Turtle Boy Live, does it endorse candidates?
Oh, absolutely. And we do have the benefit of being right next to New Hampshire. A lot of my readers are in New Hampshire. And so that's obviously going to be the first primary state. So I'm looking forward to a Trump DeSantis primary, and I will obviously be campaigning hard for Ron DeSantis and endorsing him. I do, when I first got started with Turtle Boy, I live in a city called Worcester. It's an hour west. It's the second largest city in New England. And I covered a lot of Worcester politics initially. And I got really into city council stuff. And, we led this thing called, we called it the Turtle Boy ticket, the Turtle Boy Revolution. And there was a city council election in 2015. And I did voter registration drives. A lot of my followers had never voted before. And I'm like, look at our city right now. There's crime everywhere. And it's the city council that's doing it. And we need to get behind this candidate. Funny story. It's this guy named Mike Gaffney that we urge people to get behind. And he's become one of Kate's good friends. He ended up suing me later on. Long story for a different day. But we were like, let's get behind Gaffney. And Gaffney was the only Republican on the city council. It's a very liberal city. And we got 3,000 people to get registered to vote who had never voted before. And Michael Gaffney, a Republican, almost got elected mayor of Worcester. He ended up finishing second in the city council. And I'm like, wow, this thing can move political meters in some ways. I can't, people are like, you should endorse Jeff Deal. He was the guy that was running for governor of Massachusetts. I'm like, dude, I'm not Jesus Christ. I can't get a Republican elected governor of Massachusetts. Relax. Okay. It's so I'll endorse some candidates for sure, but I'm not I won't pretend that I'm some sort of political influencer.
So do you get the demographics on where your viewers, readers are from? And if so, is it concentrated in Massachusetts or is it really dispersed?
New England. So, Massachusetts is obviously my biggest state, followed by New Hampshire and Rhode Island. So those are my three biggest states. And then after that, it's New York, Connecticut, Maine, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and California and Florida, because those are the population centers. But what I'm trying to do long term is franchise it almost, and because I can only write so much as myself. Quite frankly, Kate has given me some trust issues. I haven't had any more bloggers since then, so I do it all myself. Eventually, if I'm going to grow the brand, I'm going to need new bloggers in other parts of the country. And I write about mostly local stories, but you're telling me what's happening in Massachusetts isn't happening in Houston, Texas, or Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Tucson, Arizona. There could be Turtle Boy bloggers anywhere across the country. And so that's ultimately, I have a couple people lined up who are very interested in investing in this and really kind of taking it to the next level. So I'm excited to see what the future brings.
Well, I know that Chili De Castro is very good at getting investors. I'm sorry.
But that's a good, that's the things, the people like Kate and Chili are really, they get in the way. I mean, this is entertaining, I guess. I do enjoy the banter and the back and forth, but it's a waste of my time. Ultimately, what my long-term goals is this: nobody cares about Kate Peter. At the end of the day, nobody knows who she is outside of YouTube or Chili. It's a waste of my time. So this is almost a vice of mine, is dealing with Kate.
So how would someone get in touch with you if they wanted to start up a Turtle Boy franchise somewhere? Would they go to your Facebook page, your email? Where would they go?
So I guess I would kind of have to put they could email me, or they could send me a Facebook message. Clarence Woods Emerson is my personal account. Turtle Boy Daily News is my current Facebook page, although we get nuked a lot. We had a page with 112,000 followers that was nuked 5 years ago. I've created 50 pages since then. Market Watch actually wrote a story about my struggles with Facebook and the things that I was getting shut down for. But we've had a page for almost 2 years now, and it's got about 40,000 followers. And so people can message me on that. They can email me at turtleboysports@gmail.com. But I am going to be putting out kind of a job position soon, saying we're interested in hiring people to write for us outside of New England on things going outside of there and kind of moving the brand.
Okay. So that brings me, I love seeing pages get shut down. Not. So what, well, no, I'm really against it, by the way.
Censorship is horrible. Yeah. Right. Thank you.
So what did Facebook shut you down for? What was the problem that you were experiencing? Was it politics? Was it your position on COVID? What was it?
So the initial thing that shut me down, there was a woman by the name of Dee Delgado. She's a Black Lives Matter activist from Cambridge, Massachusetts, who had a scam going. She's like politically influential too, so that's why I thought she was interesting to write about. She had a scam going where she forces white women to pay her monthly reparations for slavery. And they have to sign after they send the money to her, they're required to go on her page and say hashtag done for Dee Dee. And I looked into this woman and she's literally living off of, I mean, it's quite a scam. She makes white women pay her reparations. Like she preys on white guilt liberals. And I thought it was hilarious because she's going on these exotic vacations and she's posting them online. And so I put the blog up and I'm like, hey, this Black Lives Matter activist is going around making white people pay reparations to her so she can go on vacation. And turns out that she's got a small army of woke white women behind her who like to mass report people. And so our page just must have just gotten inundated with reports. And then one day I remember Tuesday, I talking to a couple of my other bloggers who I had at the time. They're like, where's the page? And I'm like, where's the page? It's gone. And I'm like, okay, what do we do? We call 1-800 Facebook. Facebook doesn't have a phone number. They don't have a customer support because you're not a customer. You know, that's one thing you forget about. You're not a customer. You are the product that they're selling to the customers who are the advertisers. And I quickly realized, I'm like, oh, there's nothing you can do. I had been in touch with Facebook's legal department prior to that. We'd had a couple suspensions, and I had my lawyer get in contact with their lawyer, and they restored the page. And so I tried it again, and their lawyers just ignored us this time. And so I'm like, well, let's just make new pages. And every time I would make a new page, it would get nuked. I've been banned for Twitter for 2 years. Every time I tried to make a new page, it was automatically shut down. I had to buy a new computer to get on Twitter. I'm permanently banned from using PayPal. I'm permanently banned from using GoFundMe. I'm permanently banned from using Google AdSense. All the tech company assholes have all banned me, which is fine because you know what? In this climate, you just have to adapt. It's about adapting. And so when you're dependent on things that you can't control for revenue, it's not a good business model. So what I did is I created my own subscription model called Turtle Club, where people pay $10 to $15 a month to get ad free on the website. They get access to an extra premium stream that no one else gets. They get a free t-shirt, and we call it the Sex Cult. And that pays the bills because now they're the customer. Now I don't even have advertisers anymore. I don't want them because advertisers, when you have them, you're kind of beholden to them. Like they are their weaknesses. They can be attacked by internet mobs who say, why are you doing business with this person? He's a bad person. And I just don't want to deal with that. I'd rather cater to my audience, and it's worked out quite well.
So why did you choose Sex Cult for the name of your premium subscription?
We're actually mocking Kate for that. I think she posted on her channel or whatever that I'm a sex goblin. I think that was the term she used to call me, that he's a sex goblin and he's running a sex cult and blah, blah, blah. And so I just embrace it. And I'm like, oh, let's call it, okay, welcome to the Sex Cult, ladies and gentlemen. You are required to, I am your sex master, your head sex goblin here. And so I just kind of embraced it.
People are wanting to know what kind of headphones you're wearing.
I don't even know. They came with my podcasting set.
Okay.
They're nothing special.
I don't know why. I think they wanted to compare them to Chili's and mine.
Oh, are they? Weird. Oh, yeah, they're just headphones.
Yeah. But you also have Google AdSense. That's my understanding, right?
Yeah, I have it. So I had the turtleboysports.com website. I had to abandon it because I was permanently banned from using Google AdSense on it. So you can't make money on it if you try. I was getting at one point up to 3 million followers hits a month on that website, but it was useless. It couldn't make money because it's got no AdSense. And so I created a whole new website, tvdailynews.com, from scratch. I made the headlines a little bit less controversial, and because there's certain things that get picked up by the bots on Google that are more apt to get you banned. And I've kind of just stayed on it. And so it's been, I think 3 or 4 years now, I've been using tvdailynews.com, and I still have AdSense on there, but that's only, it's probably a quarter of the revenue that I've taken is from AdSense. Most of it comes from Turtle Club memberships, merch sales, stuff like that.
Does it bother you that you have to moderate your speech just to chase those AdSense dollars? I mean, what did you have to go through to get to that point? I mean,
but all I had to do basically was take the same content, and the problem was the headlines. We give people funny names around here, like we'll call them like that's kind of what Turtleboy is known for. We give people funny names, so our headlines were ridiculous. They would say things like, Fall River Fupaslath sells children's food stamps for crack money, or something like that, or the New Bedford Fupopotamus. A food stamp, like we would just mock people and come up with ridiculous headlines. And that's what we were getting flagged for. So ultimately I realized I'm like, I can write about the same things and just be like, woman sells food stamps on Facebook, just not use outlandish terms, and it won't get picked up by Google and you won't get banned for it.
Okay. So it was just a minor tweak. You didn't have to change your headlines entirely.
Right. Exactly.
So when you were running for the school council, you seem to have some pretty solid positions, pretty definite positions on COVID and lockdowns. Were you running those stories on Turtleboy, on your Turtleboy websites?
What was that about the COVID lockdowns? Sorry.
Were you running stories on the COVID lockdowns, expressing your opposition to them?
Oh yes, very much so. And that's actually what I've been. What did I get banned for? Oh, YouTube. I'm demonetized permanently on YouTube because I had the wrong opinions about President Biden's. We call it the climax. We don't even say the word that rhymes with climax because that we figured out that they pick you up on that. So we just call it the climax. So when Biden in August of 2021 gave a speech in which he said that he's really running out of patience with the people who aren't getting the climax, I did this rant. I'm just like, I was going to get the climax before that because I'm like, fuck it, I'll just get it. Whatever. Everyone else is getting it. But after that, I'm like, oh no, I am not. You tell me I have to, and your patience with wearing thing. Well, guess what, motherfucker? Now I'm not getting it. Screw you. And I'm happy I didn't get it. But especially with that, YouTube was so over the top with that. And they've demonetized a lot of people, including myself, which has kind of been a blessing because they take on the super chat like up to 40% now. And so we just created our own thing called Turtle Chat, and I just pin it to the comment section now, and you donate there, and they take 0 now. And so it's like, good job, YouTube. Good job, Google. You really showed me.
Well, that's good that you've improvised, adapted, and overcame. So do you have you don't have any subscriptions to your YouTube channel? It's just a pin for super chat through a different company.
Yeah. And eventually I'm going to leave YouTube. We're migrating to Rumble. And I'm basically using our YouTube channel slowly but surely to get more subs to Rumble. And I have been in touch. I had a meeting with Rumble's CEO actually about a month ago. I had a tweet that went viral 2 months ago when DeSantis sent those illegal immigrants to Martha's Vineyard. And I'm in a Martha's Vineyard Facebook group. And so I started screenshotting comments that people were saying in there. Like they were freaking out. They're like, why don't you let them stay in your house? And they're all turning on each other. It was hilarious. And so I put a couple tweets up, ends up going viral. Ted Cruz retweeted me. A bunch of Dave Rubin retweeted me, and I gained like 10,000 followers in 2 days. And so I got contacted by the CEO from Rumble, and they're like, we want you on our platform. Like we think your content's interesting. So I talked to them and I said, look, I like the idea of free speech. The problem is it's not as user friendly. Like the chat on YouTube is excellent. Like the way it's lined up, and I'm like they said, yeah, we agree. We're going to work on that. So I appreciated that from Rumble in that they're interested in creating a better product that can compete with YouTube. So eventually we will be off of YouTube. I would say within a year, I probably won't even be on YouTube, but for now I'm just using it to drive traffic towards Rumble.
And that's actually working. You're actually getting people to migrate from YouTube to Rumble.
Yeah. We got over 1,000 subs. Slowly but surely we'll get people there. And I think they do need to improve their product in order to, because I'm not going to go there until the product is as good as YouTube's.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. Did you have anything else you want to say? We're hitting right about an hour. So is there any closing comments you want to make?
No. Oh, the only thing I didn't talk about here was the I sent you today was the copyright thing. So do we even want to do that? I'd just like to point out that while Kate is complaining about Chili doing the copyright strikes on her, which I agree you should not be doing, that's bullshit that YouTube allows people to do stuff like that. In 2020, I had a video taken down by YouTube, and it was because Kate filed a copyright on it. And so when you do that, you do a counter, whatever. And I'm like, this is not copyright. And so when that happens, the person, Kate, has a chance to say, okay, well, you have to provide a federal complaint. And I get an email from YouTube saying a federal complaint's been issued. We're not putting the video back up. And so I click on the complaint and I read it over and it's like, Kate filed a federal complaint against me. This is crazy for copyright. This is nuts. And I Googled the docket number and it came up from a 2013 copyright case. She literally just took an existing copyright lawsuit and put her and my name on it. And so I contacted YouTube and I'm like, hey, here's the actual complaint. They restored the video. So for all the talking she does about copyright, she literally will abuse the same system. But thank you. I just want to thank you for having
one clarifying question on that. What was the subject matter of the video that she copyright claimed?
It was a video that she was in from when she worked for me. So Kate used to work for me. And so there were videos that she was obviously in, but that belonged to me because she did that on my channel while she worked for me. So that's not hers. That belongs to me. And so she wanted it for her channel, but she couldn't get it because it was on mine. And in order to get it on hers, she would have to get it taken down on mine. So she filed a fraudulent copyright claim and eventually she lost it. I did keep it up.
And the video's still on your channel, correct?
The video, yeah, but it's privated now so that she can't do the copyright strikes. I just want to have it just to have it, so she can't.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure having you on. Thank you. I've seen some of the comments in the live stream or live feed that have said that they have a new understanding of you. I've also seen the people who will never change. And
can't win them all.
You can't win them all. So I really appreciate you coming on here. It was a pleasure having you. And I wish you the best of luck in your endeavors with Turtleboy Live.
Thank you very much. I appreciate having you. I like these discussions, Merv.
All right. Yeah.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.